What's going on, y'all? It's me, RY to the AN, Ryan, your host for the Classic Buffalo podcast. Here we interview people on their stories or whatever they're passionate about. If you're new, if you're a returning customer, welcome back. Hey, how are you? But today is book 22. We're interviewing a guy I met at a networking party. Really cool guy. He is working with a clothing company that he helped start with his brother called Nueva. And he talks about the formation of that, the importance of fashion, what Nueva is about. And we talk about just how he gets inspired and a little bit of his life story weaved in between. It's a really good story. I hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, here is book 22. Is this Jardin? What's up, my man?
What's good, bro?
What are you up to this wonderful Tuesday?
Currently, I'm just enjoying this weather, sitting on my porch.
Ooh,
Feels
man.
good out here.
I need to get a house so I can get a porch. That's my next move, man.
I feel you. It's nice.
You got wind chimes?
No, that's a great point. Man, my mom used to love wind chimes. I had them in my childhood house back in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Okay, so you're from Indy. How'd you end up in Bloomington?
Long story. Basically for school though, I always wanted to go to IU.
Yeah.
But out of high school, I went to Ball State University. It's a great school too. But for one reason or another, I just wasn't all the way comfortable with starting the process of college.
Yeah.
Just like I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. But
yeah.
I ended up moving to Bloomington and kind of working and going to class at the same time, just knowing in the back of my head I was going to go to IU eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But, I ended up going to IU just for a year, and then life hit again, and I'm just working full-time right now, online school, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Man, you're powering through, even, like trying to do school, but also like working hard.
Yeah. American lifestyle is crazy.
So let's talk about we'll do kind of like timeline. That's always like helpful for people.
Cool.
So like growing up in Indy, were you like rough side, nice side, downtown Indy? What was it like growing up? Talk about like the culture of where you're from and talk about just your family,
For sure. Well, the cool thing about Indy that I think is you can get anywhere around there in about like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I really saw both sides, the first house I remember growing up is inner city for sure, probably 10 minutes away from what was the RCA Dome, so west side of Indianapolis, west side,
right.
A lot of west side stuff, but yeah, so that neighborhood was kind of rough. You saw some things, but I had good parents and good grandparents, and so they always made good aunts as well to just let me know, like, this is stuff that you should get into and this is stuff you shouldn't get into.
Yeah.
So it was good, and then we ended up moving to the northwest side, which is kind of, I would say, a better area.
Yeah.
Around, like, if anybody knows Michigan Road, around 64th, Grandview area, which is, I say that, but at the same time, it's still some unfortunate events that happened over there, just because this is life, you know what I'm saying? But definitely a better school system, and that was the thought process for my parents, just IPS compared to Washington Township. I don't know if you're familiar with Washington Township, but North Central High School is where I went.
Okay, yeah. They have, like, metal detectors in the school, right?
Oh, no, not at North Central when I was there, no. But IPS, I'm sure there's some schools in IPS who might have metal detectors. Yeah.
Right. Well, you'd mentioned, just right now, you were talking about how you, like, kind of were in some rough areas, but at the same time, you had those people that were kind of like, hey, this is what we do and this is what we don't do. How important was that? Like, do you think that it's maybe as simple as someone like that, like the impact one person can have, the difference between being in the deep trouble versus like actually staying on the narrow path, like the right path? Do you think it's like that, or is there more to it?
I think there's a lot more to it. Because I'll still have conversations with my parents on if we stayed in the house that I remember first
Yeah.
in the inner city, and we just kind of laugh at the thought process because it's I think environment has a lot to do with it. You know, you only see your parents for a certain amount of time during the
Right.
day, and then a lot of times the people at school have the most influence on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's both. You kind of just got to be lucky,
Right.
to have good people, and then at the same time see an environment where you don't have to think in a certain way, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
But
Stepping out of the box when you can.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Were you an only child, or do you have siblings?
No, I have an older brother and a younger sister. I'm the middle child.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it like being an older sibling? I have an older brother, so I don't really know. I know what it's like to be the younger one, but
hmm
you watching out like a hawk.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a little sister too, so I feel a certain type of way about that.
Right.
But it's really just about passing knowledge on. That's the most thing that I took from it. Like, tell her things that I wish somebody would have told me,
Right.
because that's pretty much what my older brother does for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us the extra perspective and somebody who you can trust.
Yeah.
You know.
I feel like and I may be wrong, but like getting the vibe that you like passing on knowledge, towards the younger generation, or just like really helping others in areas where you had to go through something, or just something you learned. You're like, hey, I want to help you out with this because I didn't know it going into it, and so I want you
Yeah.
to have kind of the upper hand a little bit in XYZ area.
For sure, for sure. I would definitely say I'm that type of person. I like people, like genuinely. I like. I'm an innovative type of person. I like to see
Yeah.
new ideas flourish, and I just like to see society get better if it was
Yeah.
all up to me. So
Right.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about fashion, because I think that's kind of what a big part of your life, or kind of a really cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Nueva or like Nuva? I don't know.
It's it's Nueva,
Yeah.
Wild Nueva on our social sites, and on our domain name wildnueva.com. Yeah, uh, yeah, Nueva.
Yeah.
I love Nueva.
Yeah. Talk about like what your current role is, and then like kind of how you all got started with it. Where was like, were you 4 years old and you're like, man, I've always loved clothes, or like, kind of like talk about how you
Yeah, I
got to where
feel.
you're at with that.
Well, I'll say this: we're still early in the process. 2016 is when Nueva really got started. So as far as my role goes, I have to wear like a million hats all at
Yeah.
one time. So, but to simplify things, I'm kind of just like a strategist, and I do a little design work as well. Just really trying to establish a personality for the brand,
Yeah.
and as far as that goes. But clothes and style have always been something that I've been
Mm-hmm.
attracted to for one reason or another. I remember elementary school. I had an infatuation with shoes for some reason. I don't know why,
Right.
but I just remember seeing the patent leather on the Air Jordan 11s, and just how it struck me, like, wow, like these shoes are like so shiny and they just look so clean or whatever. I'm just a
Uh-huh.
little guy in elementary school, but that, and I don't know, man. It's just I always took look at like how people put their clothes together, like the color palettes and just things like that. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
like this. Like, I remember as a kid liking how corduroy felt and just how it
Oh
looked,
yeah.
and you know what I mean, just little details like that. And so when I got to college or whatever, I had thoughts of like, man, I do want to do design, like be a part of a brand where I can see my ideas on bigger scales or whatever. But uh, college put me in a mind frame like, I don't know if you can do that right now. You know how
Mm-hmm.
that goes. Like, you got to
Yeah.
choose this major for this reason,
Right.
whatever, yada yada yada. But thankfully, my brother, he was different. Like, he didn't do as much school right out of high school as I did, so he had time to think. And we're basically, we think pretty similar. So he was able to start the idea of Nueva and like really give us something to work off of, and then, I just kind of ad-libbed and helped him and got to get us where we are now. And we work with a few other people who help, just push the brand, push the personality.
Yeah, how would you describe the personality? Like, you have a couple words or a sentence to describe this is what Nueva is?
Our slogan or whatever is the difference between. So, however that can mean to somebody and that energy, I want to associate that with Nueva. Like, for example, the difference between music and noise, you know what I mean? Or the difference between up and down, just like that area. We just want to be fresh. We want to be cool. Nueva in Spanish means new.
Yep.
So always like innovative and, just pushing new concepts and new ideas and just challenging, society from like an arts perspective. Anybody can get something different out of like a good piece of art. Like it means something to somebody for this reason. It means something to me for this reason.
Dude, I love that. That's an awesome slogan. Like the difference,
For sure.
Because like what you just said, the difference between music and noise. Like my mind goes, like what could that logistically look like on a T-shirt or like just an art design, like in a gallery or what? Like, dude, that's so cool because you could take any two words that are relevant. Like the difference between.
Right.
I don't know, dude. That's so nuts. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like
For sure, man.
And being able to see that in different mediums, that's really creative. Who came up with that?
That was my brother.
Okay.
That was my brother.
You're related to him. You get some credit.
Appreciate it.
Where would you like to kind of see it go, or do you feel like this is something you'd love to continue to? I mean, grow and do full time? Like, are you like just doing it on the side while you're kind of going to school and working? What are your passions and goals right now?
For sure, I would love to see this go full time and transpire into all different type of things. Because even with where we are right now, I've learned so much, and like what I've learned can translate into other things.
Yeah.
Just as far as like marketing, personality, things like that.
Right.
But yeah, I would love to see it go full time, and I'm a creative person, so I got a lot of ideas. I want to see all of them get off, not necessarily just in a closed box or whatever.
Yeah. Do you ever get like you're just sitting around and you're like, oh, that'd be a good idea for like time travel, or that'd be a good idea for this food, or like restaurant? Do you ever have like? Because I feel like as an entrepreneurs, we just kind of default that kind of happens randomly. We don't ever do anything with it, but
yeah. No, I have a million ideas a day. Some of them are good. Some of them are absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And some of them aren't even for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'll pass them on to somebody else if I feel like, hey, man, you should do that with that. But, yeah, definitely, man. So many ideas, bro. It's crazy.
Did you have any anxiety kind of over getting, did you join it, or did you, you were a part of the formation of it, of the company?
Definitely part of the formation of it. But I did have to join it,
Yeah.
like even then, like, cause it's my brother, like he came out with these t-shirts and people were buying these t-shirts and the logo was like super fresh. And, but like even before then, we were just talking about like we do that all the time. Even my dad will be like, say something and be like, that sounds like a movie title. That sounds like a TV show. That sounds like a brand name. And then one time it was just like Nueva. I was like, wow, that sounds like a clothing brand. Like, that sounds fresh. Like, that'll never go out of style. And then,
it's always new.
Right. Like, you can always fall back on that. And who doesn't like new stuff? You know what I mean?
True.
But it's definitely anxiety around having a brand and having to be public,
Yeah.
Feeling like, how are people going to feel about this? How are people going to feel about that? And then, like, when people see me, it's not just me anymore. It's like Nueva is behind my name. You know what I mean? Like,
how did you overcome that, or kind of I feel like you remember the first like positive comment, like, "Yo, this is fire." Like, you know,
Yeah, for sure. Um, the compliments help. The
right,
compliments help a lot. Like pat on the backs go a long way for me. I'm that type of guy. But it's and then like it's like not trying to buy too much into either side. Like, some people are gonna like it, some people are just not. That's like just how stuff works. Like
right,
everybody doesn't have the same favorite color. You know what I mean? Like, so just coming to terms with that, and just like we'll see how far it goes. Like
right,
nothing's telling me to stop right now. If anything, it's
yeah,
telling me to go harder.
right,
So I'm just exhausted until I know in my time, like, we've done what we were supposed to do regarding the waiver. Like, that's how I feel about it.
yeah, that's good. What do you think about fashion and where it's at today? You know, kind of outside Nueva, you know, what you're seeing with like Kanye and Yeezy and like Virgil Abloh and Off White. Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you happy with the amount of creativity? Like, are you intrigued to see where fashion goes? Like, I've always just been curious, especially like in the vintage game. Like, are things
Mm-hmm.
become way more simpler or like back to like louder, you know, kind of just very unique type items?
Mm-hmm. I like it. I think it's fun. I feel like, and I could be totally wrong, but back when I was like in high school and like middle school and stuff, it was more about shoes.
Yeah.
And now to see it like transpire into like t-shirts and like the resale of like Supreme and Palace and Off-White and things like that, I think it's fun, and I'm happy that I'm like semi involved with it, like, because I feel like it's the culture right now. Like, there's just a lot of new ideas, a lot of new fresh brands. I like not being able to know what somebody has on too. It really challenges like style, like, because you
Yeah.
can buy into like the hype beast and be like, he looks like a hype beast, or you can see somebody like us and be like, wow, they really have style. Like, this is more than just putting clothes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's all fun to me.
Do you have like a favorite shoe?
Oh, um, if I had to like wear one shoe for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
type stuff.
Yeah.
That's such a tough question, man. I would say the Nike LeBron 2.
All right.
if I could just say one shoe, like,
I got to get better at knowing what shoes are when people reference them.
okay. These are like LeBron's second signature shoe, and only for nostalgia purposes. Like, I remember in 5th grade going to get that shoe. You know what I mean? Like, it was just,
The
and it
LeBron
just looks
too.
pretty. It looks pretty good too.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that can work. I feel like that design is pretty timeless.
Dude, I just fell in love with a shoe today, and it was my favorite is the OG 1985 Chicago ones. You know, the
Oh,
OG.
yeah, for
But
sure.
then I heard the story today of the black ones, where like the
Hmm.
NBA said you couldn't wear them anymore,
Yeah,
and then he
yeah,
just
yeah.
wore them anyway for like a whole
Hmm.
season. I was just like,
Hmm.
oh, that's so baller. I
Yeah,
was like,
I
man, I
heard
might like
Nike.
those.
Yeah, I heard Nike picked up the check for the fine.
Oh, I believe that.
But no, the Air Jordan ones. I almost wanted to say the Air Jordan ones. Those shoes are, come on, beautiful, beautiful shoe.
Man, fashion is so interesting to me. I always it's always been an expression of who you are. You know,
Hmm.
it's not
And
just a
there's like,
shirt,
yeah, there's a story behind every piece. You know what I mean?
right?
Like, literally.
Especially the nostalgic stuff. Anything that's like older, it's like, oh, I remember this one. Like, especially when you were just talking about the LeBron twos. It's like that. Yeah, I
Hmm.
remember when I found that was one of my favorite like shoes. It's like one of the first things I
Yeah,
got.
I I just woo. That was a good time,
Yeah.
man. Elementary school, no worries.
So when you're like in this kind of time where you're like, I don't know. Well, I have two questions. One would be like your inner circle. Like, what's your inner circle like? And
Hmm.
two, kind of, is your mindset like, hey, I've got this job. I'm just going to put my head down from 9 to 5 type of thing. And then after that, like, all right, from 5 to 12, it's Nueva. Like, it's, you just kind of, and you're just hankering down, or like you're just really focused on making it a full time type of thing. Like, how can I, do you know what I'm talking about? Just like,
like balancing that and getting it to the point where it can be
Yeah,
full time.
yeah.
I feel like I believe in like divine timing, and just as far as like how I balance both. Luckily, I work at a job that inspires me. I work at the art museum at
Oh,
IU,
wow.
so it's an inspiring job. So it makes that transition easier for me, and I feel like I learn at my job like just how something like a museum works and how I can translate that into an exhibition for Nueva, or like if I'm doing a pop up, or just how
Yeah,
majestic and things people are going now, like with fashion. Like you take Virgil and what he's doing with Louis Vuitton and how he's having those like stores and big statues, and just it just looks beautiful. It looks like a exhibit, and at the same time,
yeah,
he's literally has an art exhibit. So I feel like it's all learning, and we're tagging at Nueva like all hours of the day, every minute. There's a group mess. We have a group message, and me and my brother talk all the time, anyways. And we'll just pass ideas around, direct message each other on Instagram, something that looks cool, something that we want to incorporate with Nueva and
right.
things like that. So it's constant for me, like thinking about Nueva and praying to get it to where we all envision it going. So I believe in myself and I believe in the idea, and it's just all about keeping a good mind and being as organized as possible with my mind and my ideas, and trying not to get discouraged when things aren't going my way. Just I feel like all that plays a part into it. Like we all have dreams.
Yeah. Have you always kind of been somewhat positive or had those types of people in your life?
Um, I would say it took time for me because just growing up, you're weird. Like everybody's weird.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it took time for me to think like this. Yeah, for sure. It took rejection and failures and all that stuff, but it's just it develops, and I can't speak for everybody because it's harder for some people and it's easier for other
yeah,
people. But thankfully I'm able to have this mind frame right now.
yeah.
It took time though.
Is there a piece of like advice or like a motto that you have right now that like has helped you recently or just over the past years? Like don't sweat the small stuff type of thing. Like that's always helped you type of. That's always kind of interesting to ask people about those.
Yeah, not so much a motto, but just like, well, I'm here. I'm present in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah,
It could be a lot better, but I'm here. So I feel like I'm here for some type of reason because I'm here, and if I'm not, I wouldn't be.
yeah. What would you say to like somebody who's trying to do like their own clothing company or they're trying to create some form of art, but they're kind of afraid?
Um, I would say you should be afraid. Like this is hard stuff, but if you really want it, then you'll go after it. But if you don't really want it, quit thinking about it because you're gonna stress yourself out. Like you either do it or don't do it, and if you're not gonna do it, then move on. Like you don't have time to be keep going back and forth. Like should I start? Should I not start? Like I don't have the money to. You don't have the money to do it. But you do have the money to do it at the same time. Like you can write your own destiny. Like you can figure it out if it really means something to you, and if you really want to do it.
Do you,
It takes that initial step though, for sure.
yeah. Do you think it requires some form of sacrifice? Of like, what are you willing to sacrifice to get your dream?
For sure. Sacrifice is the name of the game, honestly, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Like, how much are you willing to give to get?
What? Where's your brother at? Is he in Indy or near you?
He lives in Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are you trying to move back?
yeah. I'll be back by the start of next year.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of makes it a little bit more sensible. Are you passionate about Indy at all, or are you just kind of
Oh,
like, I'm curious how much the brand is attached to the city and your vision, or is it just like, hey, we want to make it big, or you're like, I love Indy, This is my city. I want to put Indy on, kind of thing.
I would say I know what Indianapolis is. Like, I love Indianapolis, but I know what it is. And I would never try to make it what it's not, you know? And just as far as, like, how that translates to the clothes, like, Nueva is a Spanish word. So we're definitely trying to be global, international, and cover all markets, whoever will have us,
Yeah.
you know? But I love Indianapolis, and anytime we can do something special for Indianapolis, I'm gonna be for that idea. But at the same time, like I said, I know what Indianapolis is, so I know what to expect from Indianapolis.
So what do you do for fun? Like when you're not working or when you're, not working on the company, do you do photography? Do you just chill?
Um, I like NBA 2K.
Yeah.
I like NBA 2K. I'll get on there and make a fantasy draft and play GM and play with my roommate. Like we'll go in and draft every player in the league and figure out who can make the best team, championship team. I like Photoshop and Illustrator. I like making collages, and I love YouTube, watching interviews, and I love music. And if I can catch up on a new album, that's always a good time.
Who's one of your favorite artists right now, like musically?
Can I have like a top 3 or top 5?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
It's always so hard. But right now, man, I think Young Thug just dropped a very good project. So much fun. I've been listening to that a lot. I'll listen to The Dream. He's an R&B guy. I'll listen to Playboy Cardi.
Yeah, Playboy.
I'm listening to a lot of Playboy Cardi.
Do you think she's bigger than Nicki Minaj?
Oh, Playboy Cardi, not Cardi B.
Oh, I'm wrong. My bad.
But we can talk about Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. Hold on, let me round out my 5. Yeah. I got Playboy Cardi.
Yeah.
I got The Dream. I got Young Thug. I'm always listening to Kid Cudi.
Oh yeah.
And I would say Future's up there too. I listen to those guys a lot recently. Larry June. I could go all day about that music, like stuff. I love music. But Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
I like Cardi B more than I might like Nicki Minaj. Just because I like Cardi B as a person. I think she's cool. Yeah. I like her personality. I think she's true to herself. I loved Nicki Minaj growing up, but I just think Nicki does a lot of talking these days, and her music's not really backing it up for me. Like there's Cardi B songs or Cardi B verses. I'm like, wow, that was like high quality, but I don't really want to listen to Nicki Minaj. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
Do you think Kanye is like the standard with his musical legacy plus like his fashion brand? Do you like look at him as like a god, or you just kind of like just like any other inspiration, just like anyone else?
I think I love Kanye. Kanye's done a lot to inspire me, but I'm not just picking him. You know, I think Pharrell is definitely up there. I think Pharrell's done some things that Kanye can't, and vice versa. Just as far as like the 1-2 punch, is that what you mean? Like with the style and the music?
Yeah, he's just such a heavy hitter in culture. Like with, and especially I'm asking you because you're not necessarily in the music game; you're more in the fashion game. But I don't know. We're talking about both. They usually really go hand in hand a lot of times.
Yeah, so for sure.
For a lot of creatives, Kanye's kind of like if you're in a musician, he's one of the top 10 artists of all time, maybe just production wise, and then fashion as well. Kind of just people that he's one of the persons you have to just take note of. He's relevant now. For sure. So I've always been curious asking Kanye questions to creatives. To see what your thoughts are.
Kanye, I have so much respect for Kanye, just because he believes in quality, and that's something that we do at Nueva. Like we just believe in giving people that experience and that just moment, like when you get something that you you really, really want it, and it's just everything you hoped it would be. And it's just like everybody knows how that moment feels. And we just want to do that. And I feel like Kanye and Pharrell, they pretty much do that the best that I've seen by far.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why I forgot to ask this at the very beginning, but you mentioned corduroy. Is that your favorite material to work with?
I've never worked with corduroy actually, but that is just something that stuck out when I was a kid. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's my favorite. Something else that I like is like a jersey fabric. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
basketball jersey with the
Yeah.
holes in it, and then I don't know if it's called like mesh or something like that.
Yeah.
But something like that sticks out just as like something that's just like wow, like
Right.
I can't even put it into words,
Mm-hmm.
but just the feeling.
Yeah. So when things are kind of like when shit hits the fan, when things are hard, what has helped you? What have other people done for you? What have people said? And I ask this just because when you struggle with mental health issues, or not when you do, but when other people do, and you are supporting them, you may not know what to do. So I always like to ask that question just to see what has helped
Hmm.
you. Was it quality time? Was it just like, hey, keep going? The texts. What do you think really helped for you?
Um, it's tough, man, because people don't always give you what you need, when you're going through it.
Yeah.
So, uh, my advice to people would be to just be a good listener. And it's not always about what you say, but just letting somebody know that you're there to listen and you care about them and as a person and their well-being, because it's hard. Like, mental health is something that you daily on a day-to-day basis you have to be aware of. It's not a one check fix. But just being there for a person, like people who have just listened to me talk about why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and then just from me having that conversation with them, I can go back in for myself, and it's like I'm figuring stuff out when I get it out.
Yeah.
It's important to get it out if you
Right.
can, whether it be writing in a journal or talking to people. I know I'm not a big person on talking about my problems. I'll be honest. I kind of like to figure them out for myself,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that one way or another is best or worse. Like, however you feel is best to get you back on your feet or get you feeling good about life, do that.
Yeah. That's good. I totally agree. It's always just with a lot of my questions. It ends up being like, what's the love language? I think that was really good though. What you said about
Hmm.
people just they try, but it may not be actually what you need, and just being aware that like they actually are trying to help. It just may not be exactly. I don't know.
Hmm.
There's two people in that interaction. So,
Right. Right.
but that's good. I mean, getting it out is also a really good comment. I really like that because for me it was journaling. For me it's writing, and
Hmm.
otherwise it builds up.
Right. Right. For sure. You gotta get it out at least.
So do you have like people in your life who have had mental health issues?
Um, I would say yeah. Not they're probably not aware of them or
Yeah.
you know um, cautious of them or whatever, but for sure, I think I don't want to say we all suffer from mental health issues, but like in a sense, yeah, we all do suffer with mental health issues.
Yeah.
We all have feelings, justifiable or non-justifiable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like kind of one of those things. You just either you subconsciously are dealing with it, you don't know, or you just it seems like everybody knows somebody who
Hmm.
has. Where do you think we are with like talking about it as a society, or like where we're at with mental health?
I think we're just now getting to a point where we're making people aware that this isn't just like those kids that you knew. Like, this is like everybody. Like, mental health doesn't have a face, or it doesn't have like a certain look. It could be anybody. We all go through things, and we all feel like we all can feel.
Yeah.
So Now I like where we're at because we're starting the conversation, but I think we have a long, long way to go, just like with anything. But it's important that we're starting the process, you know, so we can feel encouraged about that. But I still feel like we have ways to go.
Yeah. It's always good to be positive, though.
For sure.
Be a
For
part of the
sure.
solution.
For sure.
What are your thoughts on YouTube? Because you mentioned that you are like kind of into YouTube. I am as well. I love watching interviews like Gary Vaynerchuk or like I guess a lot of people are into Joe Rogan. Are you into Joe Rogan?
I've watched a couple of his interviews. He's a good guy. I like Gary V, and I like Ty Lopez too. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I heard him. I just haven't really watched his stuff.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah, I like YouTube. I feel like you can learn a lot of YouTube off of YouTube. You can really graduate from YouTube, if you know what I mean. YouTube University.
Yeah. Dude, I bet there'd be like years worth of like college in certain areas where you just spend a couple hours on YouTube watching how-to tutorial videos, like especially in the creative field, like doing Photoshop or like video editing, like maybe even coding.
Yeah, literally taught myself how to use Photoshop off of YouTube. Like seriously, Photoshop and Illustrator I learned off of YouTube. Took me probably a couple months to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and I still like. Photoshop is one of those interfaces where like it's so much, you can do so much. But YouTube, I love YouTube. Yeah. It's like I'll watch inspirational videos off of YouTube. I mean, like how do I get past things? I'll spend time on YouTube and just like pick people's brains, figure out how they would go about some things, and go from there.
Yeah, dude. I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk like almost every
day. Nah, he's a good dude, man.
Who would you want to go see live talk? Tony Robbins would be a good one to do with a really deep voice.
It's the hip hop preacher. I forget his name.
E.T. Eric Thomas.
Yes, E.T. Eric. I thought his name was Eric, but I didn't want to say it and just like totally drop the ball.
Oh, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. E.T. My bad, E.T. If you're listening, man. Shout out to you. No, he's cool. I love him.
Do you ever think about like how you've impacted people that you haven't met before?
Sometimes. I try not to get too caught up in it, but definitely. I like, just because I like to, I'm a people person. Like, I like to leave a good impact if it's up to me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I gotta be me. So, yeah, definitely. If it was up to me, I would want everybody to love me.
There you go. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we'll do this. I have a fun 5 closing questions, and then we're gonna do our last part where it's a shout out kind of. We'll explain that when we're done. But
for sure.
First question is: if you go to dinner with anyone and you can choose 2 people, who do you have dinner with?
I'm gonna go with this supermodel. Her name is Amaya Hammond. Like, that's my date, and we're going to meet. We're gonna talk to Elon Musk.
Ooh.
That's how we're gonna go about that.
Why? Yeah. Why do you want to talk to Elon Musk?
Because I feel like he's one of those guys who just like knows a lot, and even like a 45-minute dinner would like teach me just a lot about how life works and how, America is like formulated and run and things like that. And yeah, I just think it would be a great conversation.
Where would you go to eat?
Somewhere in Santa Monica or something like that. Somewhere in California, a real nice restaurant.
Okay, so you wouldn't do like a chain restaurant. You wouldn't do like what's that, In-N-Out Burger? You wouldn't go In-N-Out Burger with Elon Musk?
No, something like real unconventional. A name that I don't even know. Some nice though. I like Italian food, so.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite Italian dish?
I just had some fettuccine Alfredo yesterday. It was bomb.
You like Olive Garden?
Yeah, I love Olive Garden.
Man,
Olive Garden is good. Yeah. Man.
What's the best gift anyone's ever given you?
The best gift anyone's ever given me. Wow. Um, Man, one gift that always sticks out is my grandma, God rest her soul. She got me this Gilbert Arenas jersey when I was in
Hey,
seventh grade. It was like super thoughtful. And always stuck out.
yeah, he fell off. I wish he would have been in the NBA a little bit longer.
Yeah, he just got into a lot of knucklehead situations.
What's one thing you want to do before you die?
One thing I want to do before I die. Um, Man, I want to visit the White House.
Okay, that's good. Why?
Uh, I want to see what it looks like inside.
Yeah, good point.
I want to see what it looks like inside, and hopefully, I'm doing good. So it's like, like I did something good for a lot of people, and they're like, giving me a certificate or something. I don't know.
Right. Can you just like go, or do you have to like? Is it a tour? Like you can pay for a tour, or do you have to be like invite only?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Boys,
When I come to think about it, you probably could. I don't know. Like it would have to be like real specific to get a tour of the White House. I don't think, I don't know. I should look it up.
What's your favorite part of yourself?
My favorite part of myself,
Yeah,
I would say my optimism.
yeah.
I'll never let a situation beat me.
And then number 5 now, who plays you in the movie of your life?
Jaden Smith.
Hey, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, let's go with him.
Man, that's good. All right, we're wrapping up here. This is the time for a shout out. So first I want you to shout out Nueva, how everybody can find you, do that.
For sure.
The second I want you to pick a person, family member, significant other, doesn't matter. It's just somebody. And I want you to encourage them right now and just say how they've affected your life in a positive way. And then they have to basically listen to this part of the podcast. So, tell everybody how they can find you, and then kind of shout somebody out also.
Okay, cool. First, you can find us at Wild Nueva, WILD, Nueva, NUEVA. And that's pretty much where you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and like I said before, the domain name at www.wildnueva.com. Somebody who I want to shout out.
Yeah, like, hey, Janice, thanks so much for you got me into music, kind of, something like that.
For sure. I want to shout my big cousin out, Jason Quarles, for inspiring me in ways I can't even express into words. Just being an older person in my life who I can look at and, just get knowledge from. And I remember growing up, you had a lot of cool clothes, and I always wanted to dress like you. So shout out to you.
There you go, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining me and just sharing your passion for clothes and your optimism, because that's something we need more of in this world. So you're part of part of the positive change, man.
Yo, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you, man.
Hey everybody, this is Ryan from the Classic Buffalo Podcast. Wanted to take a second to talk about Anchor, how I'm actually making this podcast happen. Super happy that I'm partnering with them. So, Anchor is actually the easiest way to make a podcast. I've done my research. This is basically the best way. I promise. It's going to give you everything you need in one place for free, which is the best part. It's going to have tools, so you don't really need a fancy schmancy recording guy. Anchor's going to be helping you out there, and then they're going to distribute the podcast everywhere to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, everything. And then you can also make money with basically no minimum listenership, which is kind of rare. So hop on Anchor as soon as you can. Thanks. So we just got done talking with Jardin, and just wanted to do a little debrief for you. I think it was really interesting, a comment about the in-between, and how that is a lot of life, right? living in these graves. We have a lot of people that we know, I'm sure, maybe even yourself, that we live in these black and white, very once left or right, conservative, libertarian, whatever you want. You're either all the way one way or another, but life happens in the in-between. You have the beginning and the destination, but there's some quote that says like, life happens in between, something like you're in the destination, whatever. Life is what happens along the way to your destination, or something like that. I always love that. It points to you being present, because the next thing you know, they talk about celebrities, who eventually they get that thing, and I'm doing quotes. They get this thing, and all they can think about is like, there has to be more. But you completely ignore the hardship, the positivity, everything that happened along the way to get to your ultimate goal. And I even feel that way sometimes, probably even as I'm recording this. I have all these dreams and stuff. And for Jardin, I feel like he is in the middle of his journey. He wants Nueva to take off. He wants to be a part of his family, taking off stuff, but he's doing his best. He's staying inspired, which working for, like the art museum, I thought that was sick. I've thought about doing something like that, kind of getting a job in, something that's closer to what I actually want to do. But at the same time, I don't really know if that necessarily matters, but it can't hurt. For me, what in my previous job, a couple of jobs ago, when I would do like website editing or social media management, it was kind of hard for me to run Vintage Indie or Classic Buffalo because I was doing social media all day. And so I think it just depends on the person, but I thought that was kind of cool, where his perspective of having his 9-to-5 was, this is keeping me inspiring, I'm getting experience, this is providing for me so I can keep working on this other thing that's kind of similar to what I'm already doing for a job. But, best wishes for that. That guy does deserve a lot. You can tell he's been through a lot. We just didn't really cover a lot of it, which is totally cool. That's not the point of the podcast to, especially if people don't want to talk about it. But I still think you could tell that there were some things, but at the same time, he had a good inner circle, which shout out to them and shout out to your brother and all that kind of stuff for being such a support for you. And, I can only expect good things, man. I just wanted to shout you out. It was really fun to have you on, for you to be as vulnerable as you were, to be as honest, and to share your passion with fashion and just how you see it as an expression, which for a lot of people, that's what we do, especially for me. Part of what I did to create what I'm creating now was based on the fact of I wanted to create a brand that meant that you have a story, so that when you saw somebody wearing something, the shirt, the clothing, the necklace, whatever, they could be like, oh, that means that somebody has a story. But every piece has a story, and that's what I love your guys' clothes as well as other people who make clothes, is there's always inspiration, and especially people who sew multiple types of garments together, and especially corduroy. I'm a huge fan of corduroy. That was funny, just bringing that up. But yeah, man, life happens in the in-between, and so for those of you listening, just remember that, to be present in the moment, because there's that one thing you really want to do, and life's going to happen along the way to get into it. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes we don't even need to get there, which would kind of suck if you don't get it. But I would only hope that you'd be able to be okay with that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to be on an episode, if you want to be like Jardin, hang out, shoot the breeze, DM me on Instagram, at Classic Buffalo. Christmas is coming up. If you want to be on the Christmas episode, let me know. I have some other ideas, or New Year's as well. Or if you're busy or just not interested in it, just share it with somebody who might want to be on. Or let's get on for 2020. Man, we're almost to 2020. So until next time, I love you. Stay alive till next time. You're awesome. Hopefully I'm one of your biggest supporters, because I love you. You're awesome. Later.